You're listening to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. This is episode number 41, where we talk to Nick Hoffer of Hoffer Industries and the Ultimate Hybrid Holster Company. Nick is an entrepreneur in the true sense of the word, in that he has wanted to start a business since he was 16 years old. And he found himself in the gun world, making holsters one at a time in his garage, and from there has grown his business, actually his two businesses, into very successful enterprises. So naturally, we pick his brain about what makes a good holster, how to pick the right holster for your gun, the benefits of both Hoffer Industries holsters and the Ultimate Hybrid holster, and just have a good time overall. This is a great episode, especially if you're looking to get into the gun industry and make a business, or if you're just interested in how holsters are made. Also, be sure to find us on Facebook at facebook.com/rangemindedpodcast. Give us some feedback, suggest an episode, whatever you'd like to send us, and email us podcast@iishooting.com. As always, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy episode 41 of Range Minded, the Nick Hoffer interview. Hello and welcome to Range Minded, episode number 41.
41 already?
41 already. We're here and we're enjoying it. My name is Mark Long, and I am joined by Steve Zimmerman.
What's happening?
There he is. And we have a special guest. This is a Ricky Free episode,
Ricky
first
Free.
of all.
Yep,
we actually literally have no idea where he is.
He's went AWOL.
He's disappeared.
Well, there were some cool things that happened to him and his family, so they're taking care of that stuff, I know.
Yeah, positive things. So that's a good
positive
thing.
Things.
But so he's not here. But we are joined by a special guest, Nick Hoffer. Say hello.
How you doing, guys? It's great to be here.
Welcome, Nick, man.
Nick is a big deal, basically.
It's kind of a big deal.
Owner and CEO of Hoffer Industries. That's correct?
That is correct, yeah.
And you are the holster guy, basically.
Pretty much. That's what we do. So Hoffer Industries and Ultimate Hybrid, so I'm part of both. Spend all my time making holsters, not much time doing anything else. So
yeah, we were just talking before we started about how you said you're so busy you don't even have time to shoot.
And that's kind of the way it goes when you own a company, like that you're a slave to the company. That's it.
Yeah, you work all the time.
Well, it's funny because everybody gets into the gun industry because they think they want to shoot, right?
Right.
So I came into this. I worked for a gun manufacturer. I shot all the time because I went to work, we went and shot, we had fun. Then I started the holster business, and I was like, oh, I'll have more time to shoot, make holsters, have fun. Like, R&D is going to be great.
I'll be rolling in the dough.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it was, I haven't shot in 3 months.
Oh, man.
And then I'm like, oh, I should probably shoot my gun once in a while.
Yeah, maybe. That's what they're there for, actually. I mean, all the collecting and the modifications and all that kind of stuff. Believe it or not, they do shoot, actually, every once in a while, too.
As long as you don't lose them in a boating accident.
Right, well, which you've done.
I've lost all my guns in a boating accident.
Yeah, which is great. So you can't even shoot anything because you don't have anything to shoot.
Well, and that's why I'm going to become a professional diver.
Don't give anybody any ideas, man. That's
just go down there and recover Steve's waterlogged firearms.
Now all I imagine is ATF agents with the ATF badge on their diving suits.
I wonder if I could make holsters for underwater diving agents.
Yeah, or harpoon guns.
Yeah.
There you go. So let's start at the beginning. How did you get involved making holsters? Obviously, you enjoy shooting, and you said you were you were employed by a firearms manufacturer, so...
Yeah, so I worked for... my entry into the gun industry was with Tactical Solutions, the rimfire company here in Boise.
Okay.
And before that, I didn't even know shooting sports were a thing. Like, part of my interview was like, do you shoot whatever? And I go, yeah, I'm a hunter.
Okay.
So before that, I didn't even know that you could go out to a range and, like, play shooting games, basically.
Right, and put holes in paper for
fun.
fun.
I didn't know anything about that. But as that went on, I worked there for 7 years.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I got my entry into this. And then went to SHOT Show my first time and realized that there was a whole world of, like, the stuff on the shelf out here in the store doesn't just magically appear. Like, people make it.
Yeah, SHOT Show is an eye-opener.
Yeah. So once that happened, I've always had a drive to own my own business. So
Awesome.
when I was 16 years old, it was all about, like, figuring out what I wanted to do for a career, which at first I thought I wanted to be a mechanic, so I was going to own a race shop. So I worked in a race shop forever through high school, and then I was like, man, working in a race shop has ruined my passion for working on cars. Like, I would go home, I never wanted to work on cars. And so then I got an opportunity in 2010 to get this job at Tactical Solutions. I never heard of them, didn't know anything about the gun industry, and that kind of just opened my eyes to what we do now. Holsters just kind of came naturally after trying to find something that I could do that had a low barrier to entry.
Okay.
Which anyone who knows anything about Kydex holster making in the last 5 years knows you can jump into it in your kitchen if you wanted to. I just kind of took it to the extreme.
So how did you take it to the extreme then?
Well, being that I was in the inside of the gun industry, I had a sales background, I had a manufacturing background. So when I made my first holster, I had already bought $1,000 worth of stuff. So I didn't just jump in there and like, I'm going to fold this over and just have it for fun. I immediately went into it going, I'm going to make this, I'm going to sell it.
Nice.
And so I bought some starter kits from I think it was like knifekits.com, and it was enough to make about 20 holsters, and I made them. So this was back when Facebook, you could actually sell stuff on there.
Right.
The good old days.
When they had gun groups and you could buy and sell guns, and then I would make it, I'd post it on Facebook and say, hey, I'll sell this to you for $15, so then I could buy more stuff. And
Right.
I flipped that like 7 or 8 times, just make it, sell it, make it, sell it.
Yeah.
I would have people reaching out to me because they knew that I worked in the gun industry. So I'm like, yeah, I'll make a holster for your gun. I kind of had a little bit of a reputation for what I did. So making holsters became easy. Like I bought and sold a bunch of guns on Facebook, turn them around so people would come to me for stuff. And back then you'd sell them for like $20 just so I could make enough money to buy another starter kit. I think I made like 10, and I had it was like a dorm room toaster oven that had a toaster oven, a flat grill, and a like 1 cup coffee pot on the side of it. And I probably made 1,000 holsters in that thing.
No way. That's crazy.
I didn't upgrade to a Costco countertop convection oven until about 3 years in.
Well, hey, that's some humble beginnings, but
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you have a knack for it. I mean, obviously you do. So you've come a long way in that way. What did you said you had a knack for it. People kind of noticed you had a talent for it. What do you think, or what did people tell you that stood out about the holsters you made rather than any other Kydex holsters out there?
So this is kind of what I tell people about Kydex holsters. There's not a lot of uniqueness.
Sure.
When it comes to a holster has to fit a gun a certain way. And if we use Glock 19, for example, there's only so many ways that you can slice a Glock 19 holster, and you can do some different shapes, some different patterns. Originally, the only thing that set me apart was that locally people knew who I was. And that's a big thing in the custom holster world. When people are just starting out, nobody knows who you are outside of your network. So I already had a pretty good sized network on Facebook. I had 2,000-3,000 people that were interacting with me and seeing what I was doing, and I was buying guns from people and meeting people in parking lots. And when I was doing that, I was showing them what I was making, and when they were ready for something, they were coming back to me.
Yeah, they'd find you, seek you out. That's cool.
It wasn't that I had the next big thing, or that I had the best product, because I'll tell you right now, like when I first started back in 2011, there wasn't half of the things out there that make holster making as easy as it is now. It was get a real gun, get a blue gun, blue tape, use a toaster oven, and some foam. Where now we're using commercial grade heating elements and vacuum formers and CNC machined molds out of aluminum. Like, I haven't used a blue gun or a real gun to make a holster in over a year.
Wow.
But back then it was, you folded it over the gun, and literally anybody can do it that way. If you have a little bit of skill in, I don't know what you'd call it, like
initiative, really.
Yeah, initiative is a good one.
I admit I've made a few holsters for myself, and they were never really pretty. I had an LCR for a while, and I couldn't find an appendix carry holster from LCR, so I said, screw it. I think I bought some stuff from knife kits and made it, and it worked. Right?
Yeah, that's all that matters. I mean, nobody's really ever going to see a holster anyway, although really they shouldn't be if you're concealed carrying anyway.
Yeah.
And as long as it works, who cares what it looks like? I mean, Ricky's got that jerry-rigged appendix holster wrapped in duct tape and has some awful wedge on it. I don't know. It's I
think if he saw those little wedges that pull the gun away from him, he's like, oh, I can make that out of a dirty sock and duct tape. I don't know what it was.
Legit.
That's where like you find like a lot of the things that are popular now came from holster makers trying to find that one thing that set them apart. And then when they found it, they sold it to everybody. And so like those wings that you talk about, I guess originally it was the wedge. Raven Concealment came out with this like bolt-on wedge thing when they did their what is it, the Edelron holster or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Say it. But it had all kinds of bolt-on parts, and now you can see it like custom holster makers are adding all of those parts to make it, and they do make a difference. But at the same time, that was each person's way of setting themselves apart,
Giving them some kind of identity in the market.
where with us it was always just do the highest quality holster that you can for for a decent price, and then keep doing it from there. So I haven't put wings or wedges or any of that stuff on any of our holsters. We don't even make production light bearing holsters. We make one model holster that's ambidextrous. It's got a high sweat guard on both sides, and it's in one or two different patterns, either carbon fiber or straight black. That's it. And that's because I know what we do it well, and we only do it for like the top 20 guns that are selling for that year.
Okay.
We don't have 150 models. We have what's selling, because my niche was always retail stores. So up until last year, I didn't even have a website that was functional. You could order on it, but it was a complete pain in the butt. So that was where I was a little bit different than everyone else. Is I went out knowing I wanted to be in retail, because I came from a company that sold to retail, production manufacturing. So I always wanted to be where I was making 10 Glock 19 holsters at a time, 20 at a time, not one at a time.
Right. Not one in a toaster oven.
Yeah.
One at a time.
So like when I started on a table in my garage. I moved on to a 6-foot bench, moved on to an 8-foot bench, slowly took over the garage until my wife was like, you have to leave. I want my car back in the garage. Go find somewhere else.
Right.
I'm tired of people showing up in our driveway. Like, get out of here. Go find some place to go.
Well, I think it's awesome that the entrepreneurial part of you was able to make something that a stupid heat-treated piece of plastic into a business, a successful business.
Well, and that's something too. Like, I went into it knowing I wanted it to be a business. It was never a hobby for me. Like, at the beginning, holsters weren't a passion of mine. Like, I had a couple of the basic holsters. I think I had a crossbreed holster, I had a Black Hawk holster, and then I had a Raven Concealment outside the waistband holster. And back then, Raven Concealment, Blade Tech were like the only two pancake style holsters you were going to get. And they were $150 a piece. And you were waiting 6 months to get one. I remember when I started making holsters, the wait times were like 8 weeks to 12 weeks.
Jeez.
And now you can go to any Kydex holster maker and they'll ship the next day.
Yeah.
And like with us, like if you order for our website, all of our shipping's done on Friday. So if you order Friday before noon, it ships Friday. If you order Monday, it ships Friday.
Now I know when to shop on your website.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, if you want to shop on the website, order on Friday, it'll ship the same day, it'll feel better. But if you order the Monday before, it'll go out Friday. Usually it shows up to your house Monday or Tuesday.
That's pretty cool.
So, but I really would rather people go to the stores and buy it. Like that's, especially here locally, like we push people to the retail stores.
Right.
Because we're not set up for retail and everyone wants to pick it up. So I always send them to the store because that was always my goal, was retail.
Get it in the store, yeah.
Yeah. There was always that thing was like, if you have something in a store, you've made it.
Yeah.
And then I put something in the store and I was like, oh man, I need to put it in like 50 more.
Well, so talk about, that's kind of an interesting angle, is getting your products into the store in the firearm world. How did you kind of go about that, and how did you end up having success with getting your product into retail stores?
So originally I leveraged friendships that I had. So I shopped at the same gun stores. I went in there all the time. I was going to the range for events, so I was meeting a lot of people. So I leveraged those friendships locally to get stuff in the store. And then, like I said, instead of having people buy from me at that point, once I got into 1 or 2 stores, I would say, hey, if you want this right now, like, they have it over here at this gun store. Just run in there and grab it. And I always kept my prices higher than what it was at the gun store, so that people were encouraged to go there.
That's smart, yeah.
Because for me, like, I wanted a business, so I wanted to run it myself, and I was the sole employee. I didn't have time to do the customer service if I wanted to do a lot of production. So I would send them to the store, and then all the returns, everything would go through the store.
That makes sense.
So that was the way that I thought it was going to be easier. But then I realized once I ran out of friends that owned the stores or who were the managers, it was a lot harder to get into the store because there's 5,000 other holster makers calling them every single day.
Yeah.
Here's what I didn't realize when I started. Holsters are the most overpopulated part of the gun industry. Like,
really?
When you walk into a gun store, you see this like wall of holsters from 30 different companies because there's hundreds and hundreds of different handguns.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if a store wants to cover even a fraction of that, they have to have 200-300 holsters on the shelf. And so to try and convince someone that's already got all the big name brands and a couple of the smaller custom shops on the wall to put yours next to it became extremely difficult.
Yeah, I bet.
So what I started focusing on then was branding. Okay, so if I wanted to get into a store that there wasn't someone there that I could talk to and know, and there's not a whole lot of difference between my product and company B other than I made it and maybe the color. So that's why I chose the carbon fiber in black. Mm-hmm. Black was basic. It looked like everyone else's.
Right.
But the stores didn't want to carry 10 different colors of the same holster because you take that 150 times it by 10, you got 1,000 of the same.
Yeah, it's all taking up room
just for color. Yeah, and everything is real estate space in the store. So for me to get a little bit of shelf space, I needed something to stand out. So the carbon fiber is what we went with for retail. It's a plastic pattern, but it was just different enough that no one else it stood out from everyone else's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, look at that. See,
there's the carbon fiber.
See?
I may or may not.
Did you know I was coming tonight?
I wore this just for you.
Just for me.
Has his carbon fiber mag holder.
See,
because
the only problem with this one is I accidentally left it in the car one day and it got a little too warm, but it still holds the mag.
We'll just leave it in the car on another hot day and then just pinch it down.
Take some channel locks or whatever.
But, so the big focus for getting into stores that I didn't know was focusing on my own branding. So getting out and creating a brand behind my product. And then like here, I never reached out to independents. You guys came to me.
Really?
And that's because I had created a brand in my local market where people were asking for my stuff. Mm-hmm. Where I didn't have to anymore go out and ask people to carry my stuff. They would come to me. And so focusing on branding was the big part. And so in doing that, I wanted a product and a brand, and that's where I came up with where I am now, where now I have two companies, one which is Hoffer, and then the other company which is a solely retail-based holster business that we just started. And we can talk about that one in a little bit. But that one solely came out of finding a product that filled that niche to get rid of that 150 holsters on the shelf.
Right. And
was solely based for the retail stores.
Cool, man.
So
we'll switch gears over to Ultimate Holsters and Ultimate Hybrid.
Come on,
I did my homework. Ultimate Hybrid in a minute, but actually I was kind of curious if you could kind of walk us through how a Kydex holster is made, because obviously it's something you can do at home, but maybe, I know for just as many DIY folks out there, there's just as many that aren't.
Absolutely.
And so I vaguely know the process, but kind of seems like black magic a little bit.
No, so I'm happy to share the process. In fact, I was going to say earlier, I had guys when I was first starting that were like, that's too much money. I could do it myself. And I'm like, here's the plastic. Go give it a shot.
Yeah.
Because once somebody makes one, they realize why some holsters cost $19 and why some holsters cost $100.
Mm-hmm, sure.
There's a significant difference in the amount of labor and the attention to detail that goes into it. So you can buy Kydex at any plastic house. So like here locally in Boise, we have a place called Interstate Plastic, and you can go there and you can buy Kydex plastic. They'll probably only stock the thinner material, but it's great if you want to learn how to do it. You can run there. You can buy a 12-inch by 12-inch piece, which is what you need to start, and it's going to cost you like $7-8 for the plastic.
Wow. Yeah.
And then if you have, I would never recommend using your oven in your house because Kydex is a PVC plastic product, so it off-puts chlorine gas.
Oh, that's no good.
So if you heat it over like 400 degrees, it's going to start off-gassing chlorine gas into your house.
Which is bad.
Once you put that into an oven, it's never coming out.
Oh, geez.
So your cake, the cake you cook for your daughter's birthday is going to taste like plastic.
Chlorine. Plastic, yeah. Did you learn that the hard way or the easy way?
No, I did some research before I started using it.
Smart man.
So I used to be a firefighter part-time, and so I know about the MSDS sheets. So when I bought the plastic, I read on what was going to happen to me if I didn't wear a mask and if I overheated it, just to be safe.
Gotcha.
And you don't want to breathe that stuff in. It's pretty dangerous. But yeah, use a toaster oven. They're cheap. You can get them $15 at Walmart.
Yeah, even a secondhand store or something.
Yeah, true.
Well, like I said, the one I started with, I got for free.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
It was sitting in my garage. Like, we never used it. It was a gift. And I used it for years. Made hundreds of, probably thousands of dollars off of something I got for free.
Man.
So yeah, you're gonna take that piece of plastic, and you're gonna heat it up, and you're gonna wrap it over the gun. You can do it by hand with gloves, obviously, or you can do it and build a small wood press, which you can find the instructions on that online all over. You just search Kydex.
Sure. But I'm sure there's YouTube videos aplenty.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot when we started, but at this point there's thousands of videos showing you how to do it. But you're gonna want to press, you're gonna want the foam, and you can get all that stuff at knifekits.com is where we order some of our stuff still from. You can get all the hardware. You can build a holster. You can build a knife. You can get all that stuff on that website. The screws, the belt attachments, all the clips, all the clips, everything. They'll sell you the press. You could literally go on there, and if you wanted to, start a small business in your garage.
Oh, I'm sure. And
it's cool because when I started, it was sourcing screws from wherever you could find them. It was getting the plastic. I started right when the plastic was readily available online, so all the colors were just starting to come out, where right before that it was you could only get black.
I gotcha.
But yeah, it's a pretty simple process. You're going to prep your gun. We use blue tape to prep the gun, the painter's tape, just to keep, one, to protect the finish, because you don't want to scratch your gun or someone else's gun. And then wood dowels. You can pick up wood dowels and popsicle sticks. So you got to make sure that there's no snag points on the gun. So ejection ports, hand controls, trigger guards, all those little notches on the rail sections. You want to make sure all that stuff's filled in. If you have slide serrations, any of that stuff will cause friction points. And what friction does is it causes wear. And if you don't cover those points up, you're going to wear out the gun. And especially on our end, like, we don't want a customer who has a custom painted gun to come back and like, did this scratch the shit out of it? Yeah.
If it's Cerakoted or you've got a custom paint job on it or whatever, because sometimes people can spend real money on that stuff, you know?
Yeah,
not only that, like, there's people that just love that gun, and it may not be a fantastic gun, but it's something to them, or it might be the only thing they could afford, and it just means a lot to them.
Yeah, or it could be sentimental value too.
Yeah.
There's that as well. So so you heat it up, wrap the gun, got to cover everything up, and then it's pretty much that simple? Or
so prepping the gun is the most important part.
Like most things in life.
Yeah. It's like painting. Like, the prep work is the most important part. You can have the best paint job ever, but if you didn't prep it, it's still going to look like crap. And that's exactly how holsters are. The more work you put into the prep, the better the finished product's going to look. For me, it's really important to make sure that there's no snag points and to block everything off. I only want retention in the trigger guard, so if I'm going to do a custom holster and use a gun, I'm going to take my time, block it all off, and make sure that the trigger and everything is going to look nice when it's done. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You prep the gun, you heat the plastic, you wrap it over that, you let it cool after it's wrapped over it. And like I said, you can do it by hand. You're not going to get high detail, but it's going to work.
Yeah.
But if you do it in foam, you're going to get some pretty decent detail. You're going to have a finished shell, and you're going to crack it open, drop the gun out, hopefully into something soft, not onto the floor. Yeah, once you pull that out, then you're going to kind of take a pencil and you can draw right on that stuff, the shape that you want. And I use a bandsaw, We originally used a scroll saw, which if whatever you have works,
Sure.
To cut the rough shape, and then just put it on a belt sander and kind of go to town with whatever shape you want it to look like, and drill your holes in front of the trigger guard to hold it all together, and whatever belt attachment you choose. So
Yeah, and you can just drill the holes for those. And
yeah, and like I said, that's the quick and dirty explanation over the radio. I mean, there's videos of plenty out there showing you how to do it, but it's really that simple. It's just all in the details.
It says whether or not you can do it well.
Yeah,
because I mean, shooting's a simple process. Just point the gun where you want and pull the trigger. But
well, and
it's about how well you can do it.
That's what I said. Like I took my focus off shooting, and I just put my head down and started making holsters, and that became my hobby, was trying to figure out how I could make the holster better and do it simpler and faster and get the best product in the end. And that's kind of where we are now. Like we don't use real guns. We make our own molds, and we don't use foam. We use vacuum, and we use CNC to cut the shells now. So it's just an evolution. Like I started with the way I explained it at first, and now it's a full-on production.
You moved it up to commercial grade. So
yeah, and if anybody follows you on Instagram, I mean, they'll know that you are not an idle person, anyways. Like this guy, he's always reading books to better himself. Like And I think that really goes to show that obviously that stuff's working, because you could have easily just said, well, I'll just stick with, the oven and cook a couple a month and whatever. That's good enough. Make me a couple bucks.
Well, and I always tell people, I'm like, if I would have started this out and just wanted it to be a hobby, I probably would have made more money in the beginning keeping it a hobby. But I started out like with this idea that I wanted to start a business, and I didn't like this ended up being what it was. And so every dollar I made was rolled back into more and more, and then
that's the smart way to do it, though.
Well, at the same time, it is, because I had a job, so I could afford to do it. But if I wanted to like buy guns and was just using this to fund like a hobby to shoot, it would have been beneficial for me just to do the basic process, do that, make money, and then I could use that to buy material. But I used all of that money to educate myself, buy new equipment, expand. Like I moved out of my garage and started having, once you have overhead, you really realize how much work you actually have to do.
So slave again.
I mean, I was working in the machine. I had transferred out of assembly at Tactical Solutions out into the shop so I could have 3 weekdays to work on my business. So I would go into work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and every other Wednesday at 4:30 in the morning. I'd get off work at 4. I would go straight from my work to the shop, because I had moved out of the garage, and I would work in the shop until probably 7 o'clock. And then I would go home for dinner, and I would hang out with my son and my wife at the time, and then they would go to bed. And if I had stuff to do, I'd go back so I lived in Cuna, and my shop's in Meridian, so I would drive the 10 miles to the shop.
Yeah.
And I would work either for 3 or 4 more hours, or I would work until it was time to go back to work at 4 o'clock in the morning. Oh my gosh.
You just never, it's like a machine, man. You just never stopped.
So it was a good 3-4 years of just completely grinding constantly. And then when I was at work running machines, I was either listening to books, or I was on, don't tell my bot. Well, I guess I don't work there anymore, but I was on Instagram constantly, like promoting my product and selling,
networking, and
marketing.
I was constantly on social media, just talking to people. And for the first couple of years, like I said, I didn't have a website that was worth a damn. Right. All my sales came through Facebook and Instagram, and it actually surprised. Like when I was talking to the people at Tactical Solutions when I was leaving, I said, my sales last year were 90% on Instagram.
That's wild.
And they're like, well, how did you do that? I said, DMs. And it came out like a year or two ago where people were like, oh yeah, all the business is going down in direct messaging. And I was like, dude, I've been doing, that's how I started my business.
Yeah, you trailblazed almost.
So, and now like that's what we do with the new company. Like if you follow our page, like I instantly reach out to you in direct message and say, hey, thanks for following our page. Here's a discount code. Go check out our website. And I start the conversation immediately.
So you reach out to them.
Yep. And before I would tell people on Instagram with the Hoffer page when I was still growing, it was, hey, if you want something, put it in the comments or send us a message and we'll figure out what we can do.
See what we can do. Yeah. And that's something that's important, I think, for if you want to start a business or you want to get into something like that, I mean, it doesn't just happen. You know, you're basically the poster boy for it. Didn't just happen. I mean, you've been at it for what, 8 years now?
So right now 2019 will be 7 years since I started.
7 years. Okay.
Yeah.
We're not good at math here.
Yeah, it'll be 7 years, and then I'm kind of starting over, like starting with this other company, like in the retail side. I'm starting over now, but I know how to do it, and I know how to replicate it. I'm not scared.
You're armed with the knowledge. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So I spent a lot of time, like probably the last 5 years, educating myself. And last year I was like, you know what, dude, I've spent so much time and money in education. Like, I'm implementing 1 or 2 parts of that. It's time to really start like putting everything together. So this year I'm stepping back from the education side and trying to learn new stuff and implementing the stuff that I've learned, even if that means having someone else do it for me. At least now I know what I need, and I know what to look for in a person to do it. Sure.
Yeah. Let's switch gears and talk about your new endeavor, Ultimate Hybrid holsters.
So what we did is Hoftac is becoming more of a manufacturer. So what I do with Hoftac is I manufacture for other holster companies now, and I designed a hybrid holster that I really liked that was universal, and I brought on a business partner to start a second business.
Okay.
So now all of our retail sales, I've kind of converted all of the Hoftac dealers into Ultimate Hybrid dealers to carry that product. And what it is it's a semi-universal fit hybrid holster. So what that means is it has a plastic Kydex shell on the front, and then on the back it has a soft backer. So people would be familiar with like a leather backed holster with a Kydex shell as a hybrid.
Sure.
We took that a step further and we designed a memory foam backer.
Oh wow.
So with the memory foam, if you've ever laid your head on a pillow, you lay your head on it, takes the shape of your face, you lift your head up, it goes back to 0. With our backer, it's got spacer mesh on the back, which goes against your body. So if you look at like a backpack, that sweat absorbing material that's right up against your back, that's spacer mesh. It was actually designed for spacesuits to go against your skin. So it's not abrasive. It wicks sweat away from you, and it keeps it doesn't give you any like irritation.
Sure.
So we wanted that against your skin, against your shirt, so you don't have irritation. And then behind that, we put a 6-pound memory foam that is 1/8 of an inch thick. And then on the front of that, a Cordura 600 material, so that it's soft against the gun, but it also doesn't hold any shape. So what that does is it protects the gun and it protects the memory foam, so it doesn't get any moisture or dirt on the memory foam. And then we seal that with a binding around the edge.
Okay.
Is that memory foam? It's closed seal, or is it?
Yeah, it's closed cell memory foam.
Closed cell. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. So it's not going to retain any moisture, or sweat, or nothing, which is nice, because I'm sure some people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to get sweaty and that thing's going to stink in a week, and I'm not going to want to carry it anymore.
So what we do, it's closed cell, so it's not going to get any of that moisture inside of it, and then it's washable. So what you can do is with that, unlike leather, like you can't wash anything out of leather.
Yeah. No.
What's there is there. It absorbs the moisture. All of us have carried a leather holster at some point in time, and we know what they look like after a month of wearing it.
Yeah.
What happens is if it gets sweaty or whatever, you just take it out, put it in the sink, scrub it with some soap and water, and let it sit, and you're back to brand new.
That's pretty awesome.
That is cool.
But with the front shell, I designed it around the top 3 semi-auto handguns. So we had the Springfield, the Smith & Wesson, and the Glock, which seemed to be the most common. Mm-hmm. And I took those and I put them into a computer file and I merged them all together until I got this like abortion of a CAD file. And then I started taking features out and adding my own features to create the universal shell. So with this holster, all of the retention is in the trigger guard and the detent that I created.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the top portion is more like kind of just a pocket for the gun. And then it has an oversized sight channel, which allows for the backer to kind of wrap around the top of the slide.
Okay.
And so what it does is that memory foam takes the form of the controls on the back of the gun, and it wraps around the top of the slide. So then it creates its own soft shell holster on the back, and then the front shell puts pressure against the front of the gun and then detents in the trigger guard. So you still get a click when you put the gun in it. And it will fit anywhere from like a Glock 43 all the way up to a Glock 21.
Wow.
And when you talk about like, it's universal, so it probably doesn't fit anything well, is what we hear the most. And
sure, it's like sorry to interrupt, but what is it? A well-rounded or a master of none? I should know it if I'm going to interrupt you.
There you go. Yeah.
Here, I'm just going to say something that makes no sense and hope that everybody else agrees.
No, it's like do you do it does everything well, so it doesn't do one thing well. You know, you're not a master.
It does everything well, but it doesn't do anything great type of thing.
You couldn't have said that 30 seconds ago. Thanks for letting me drown.
I wanted you to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, a jack of all.
That's what friends do.
Thank you. Yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah. So really, what this was designed to do was designed for somebody who wants to carry multiple guns but doesn't want to have what we all have, which is a plastic bin with like 50 holsters
full of
in
holsters,
it.
yeah.
And most of those are for multiple guns or whatnot. So if I'm at the gun counter and I'm buying my first gun, I don't know what I want. I don't even know if that's the gun that I want to carry.
100%.
So I might buy 2 or 3 guns before I find the one I want to carry. I don't want to spend $75 on a holster for every single one of those until I find the one that I want. So with this one, it's kind of that entry-level holster that allows every gun store to have something that fits extremely well. I mean, I fit over 175 different handguns in it, and those are when I put those on the fit list, those are ones that I've personally fit in the holster, put the gun on, and said this is going to retain the gun very well.
Sure.
There's other guns where I won't put on the fit list, even though it fits in there. It just doesn't meet our standard. So like when you go on the website and you see the fit list, it's got a lot of guns.
Now, it's crazy.
And every single one of those we've personally fit and carried guns in.
Nice.
Oh, Ricky's going to be sad it doesn't carry the Taurus 1911.
How about a Walther?
It doesn't carry any 1911s because they have small steel trigger guards that don't fit.
The slender trigger guards.
It's mostly semi-auto, polymer framed, not the micro guns, so not the pocket pistols, not like a LCP or any of those, but the Glock 43 size, the M&P Shield, the XDS, all the way up to, I mean, you could put a 5-inch XD tactical in it if you wanted to.
Man,
that's awesome.
I mean, 1911 guys are usually the ones that I see carrying 5-inch full-size guns inside the waistband, so I don't cover that yet, but it's coming.
It's God's caliber.
That's
yeah,
right.
and it's
Lord's caliber.
It's the original semi-auto handgun. Don't say that.
Never correct them, right?
Yeah, don't correct that.
I feel like I missed something.
It wasn't the first.
No, I know, but why say don't correct him on that?
Because they think it's the only one that's ever existed.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a specific person that you both knew that that spouted this off.
Well, we were someone who owns a Colt 1911.
The generic 1911 guy that they won't carry anything if it doesn't start with a 4 in the caliber.
Right. Well, you know why they carry a 45, right?
Because they don't make a 46.
That's right. Never mind that
they make them in a rifle, 460.
Yeah, and I guess you could think about a revolver 464.
Hey, why not?
Why not? But actually, yeah, because nobody's ever heard of the Luger P08, in 1908. 3 years before 1911. Mm-hmm. No big deal. What I wanted to ask you, though, was the retention. You said, obviously, if it's on the fit list, you've personally tested this out. Tell me a little bit about maybe what your retention test...
I'm going to go grab one. Hold on. You guys talk amongst yourself.
Tell
me a little bit about what your retention test is, if you can. What you kind of put through its paces. So
the retention test for me is it has to have an audible retention when you put it into the holster. So when it's off the body and you put it into the holster, I want to be able to hear that it locked into the detent. So if it doesn't make that audible detent, then it obviously doesn't go on to the next stage, which is a pressure test. So what I do for the pressure test is we'll put light pressure on the back because the holster is designed to be on the body. It's not a holster that you're going to store your gun in the safe. It has to have that pressure from the body to make up for the different thicknesses of the gun. Sure. And that's where the memory foam and the soft backer come in, is it self-adjusts to the thickness, but it has to have pressure on the back. So what I'll do when I'm testing a new gun is I got that audible sound, and then I'll put slight hand pressure on it and just turn it upside down to see if it will hold. And if it will do that, then I put it on the body and I'll do like 5 or 6 draws and see if I can reholster it, and if when I go to draw the gun it has resistance. So if it doesn't have that click, it's not going to have resistance, and so I know that it's not going to work.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, obviously you can stick any gun you want in there and you could say that it works. I mean, I've had guys send me pictures with them with 1911s and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work. And they're like, it fits just fine for me. And I'm like, well,
more power to you.
Yeah, if you're comfortable, that's fine. But for us, we're not comfortable with that. So from there, then I'll go and I'll wear it around. Yeah.
Sorry, we had to.
That's good.
He was
audio
waiting
right
for
there.
a good opportunity to open it.
Good radio.
And
Right
so now I interrupted you with a saying that I couldn't even get right, and he interrupted you with a sound. So, but now we have a picture, and we'll take a picture. I would put it on the site and
this
everything
one
like
with
that.
the ulti clip, which is pretty awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah,
It's a hot setup.
So then we put it on,
Have one of those dummy
and
guns.
I wear it around for a while, and just make sure that it doesn't have any play in it, that it's not gonna rattle around in the holster. And then once that's like, originally I tested guns for weeks before I put them on the fit list, but I've done it so much now that like I can tell within like 5 or 10 minutes if it's gonna be a good fit or not. And
now who's making noises?
It's the same gun.
no, one's a 19, one's a 17.
Oh, did I give you the 19? Oh, this is the 17.
17.
Oh, they're both 17s.
Yeah. I was just gonna, because we have all these practice guns sitting here in our supply closet. That's okay. This is boring. They're all 17s. We had like a Beretta. We had an XD somewhere. I don't know.
Somebody probably put the Beretta in the garbage.
Probably next to Ricky's PT 1911. So
Sorry, Beretta guys.
but we have one here, and we can kind of play with it a little bit. So you can adjust the clips too, then, for whichever clip you like.
Yeah, so we have 5 variations. We have one that has the ulti clip, which is for like a behind the belt beltless type carry.
Right.
And then we use Tackware Hardware, which is they're based out of Utah. Tyler, who owns Tackware, is a pretty good friend of mine. I've had some input on how we designed some of that stuff.
Sure.
Not the actual clips, but how we design it to use their clips. And we have two belt clip variations. One that is got an angled clip, which angles it back in your body. We talked about wedges and wings before.
Sure.
We use an angled clip that's angled away from the holster to push the holster itself back into your body. And then the adjustable cant, which will cant forward and back 10 degrees from 0.
Okay.
And then we also just came out with an outside the waistband version, which has what we call our quick clips, which is kind of like a paddle version, which goes on and off without taking your belt off. And then we have a belt slide version, which you have to slide through the belt like a traditional holster.
Yeah. Now, and you might have mentioned this. Are these ambidextrous or no?
These are not ambidextrous.
Okay.
Currently, they're only right-handed.
Okay.
Sorry, Mark.
So you discriminate against lefties.
We tried to do a pre-sale for left-handed holster. So I had probably, I would say I had 100 requests through social media for left-handed ones.
Yeah.
And I take it you're left-handed.
I am.
So I had a lot of you lefties crying because we didn't have a left-handed version. You guys are the loudest market, but you're the cheapest market.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty accurate.
Because I posted
Very
up
astute.
a pre-sale for 60 days.
Yeah.
And I gave it a discounted price, just enough to cover the tooling cost to create a left-handed holster.
Right.
And I had one person purchase, and we promoted it for
tightwad.
60 days.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, he didn't buy one.
Gosh.
Yeah, I can't buy one now. Yeah.
Yeah.
We want everything, and we complain, and we want it cheap or free. So
You right-minded people.
I know we are in our right mind, but we are disabled.
So we plan on having left-handed models for this version of the product by the end of 2019.
Nice.
That's something we want to do because we feel like, there's a lot of guns that there isn't a left-handed holster on the market for.
Sure.
And because this is so versatile, it's a good product to have a left-handed version of.
Oh yeah.
We just need to hit a certain number with the right-handed models before we can go into production on another one.
Well, I'll tell you, as a recovering lefty, because I am a recovering lefty now.
Well, after that comment, now you're recovering?
Well, no. So what I've been doing, I've been like kind of on the hunt for a gun that
Lefties Anonymous?
that has. Thank you. Yeah, my name's Mark, and but that had an ambidextrous slide release, an ambidextrous magazine release, just everything that would cater to my left-handedness. But then eventually, I don't know, it just hit me once. I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'll just learn how to use the mag release with my left hand, like on the left side of the gun. You learn how to use a slide release on the left side of the gun. So probably by the time you come out with a left-handed holster, I'll be shooting righty.
Well, perfect. Perfect.
So that'll work out. But no, that's it has. I mean, because everything's got to be opposite pretty much. You're with this hybrid holster, you're basically have to do the other side of the gun, don't you?
Yeah, and think about what you just said. So the controls are a part of our design. So that the memory foam grabbing onto those controls on the back is a part of how we got that semi-universal fit.
Right.
So when we do that, when we make a left-handed version, the front shell has to accommodate all of those controls.
Right.
Because most guns, the controls are on the left side of the gun. So then you were going to have less friction on the back side of the gun, so the fit might be different.
Sure.
And then I have to redesign the shell to accommodate all of those different control heights, where with the memory foam I don't have to worry about it because it conforms to whatever size control's there.
Right, and there's some guns that do have, I mean, if you have a Gen 4 Glock 17, you do have a slide release on both sides of the gun, and on the Gen 5 you do.
And you look at like XDs, they have like oversized like takedown pins and controls, and they have, or like a gun that has like a SIG with a decocker on the left side.
Yep.
All of that stuff has to be accounted for in the shell on the other side that we don't account for on right-handed holsters, and then the ejection port is on the right side of every gun. So we can account for that because we know it.
Right.
Controls on the left side are we're gonna have to just design around it.
Yeah.
So it's not just mirroring. People think, oh, you just mirror it and do it the other side. There's a lot when you want to fit 200 different guns. There's a lot of things you have to look at, and I'm gonna have to go to a big gun store like here and like look at every single gun, take measurements of every gun, and say hopefully it's gonna fit.
Yeah, that's gonna be a bigger challenge to do it that way.
Because I'm not gonna come out with a left-handed model and say, well, it only fits half of the fit list for the right-handed model.
Yeah,
right. It wouldn't make any sense.
It has to fit every single one of those, which means I have to go back through. So
yeah.
I've already started working on it. Like we have a pretty good catalog of guns in our computer with computer models, so
sure.
we go through and see we know what's going to fit before we start.
Yeah. So compared to from when you started to doing the computer stuff, I'm guessing is the computer a lot more accurate with cuts and that kind of stuff? Do you come up with a better product with a computer, or maybe just does it depend?
So I'm not going to say that it's a better product, because there's a lot of decent handmade holsters out there. Like it like I said, it's all in the prep work, it's all in the attention to detail.
Sure.
What using the computer allows us to do is be faster and more accurate while we're being fast. So I produce the shells for the Ultimate Hybrid 500 at a time. So in order for me to do that by hand, like when we were drawing with a pencil, like I said before,
right,
it's really hard to have 500 of them be exactly the same.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. Well, it is impossible.
And to design that shell, I couldn't do that by hand. I couldn't design a mold by hand to do that. The only way I could do that was with the computer files.
Right.
So
interesting.
It's becoming a bigger thing. Like I told you about knife kits. Like if you want to use computer generated molds, they sell them there now.
Really?
And I think a blue gun will cost you $50. You can buy a computer generated vacuum mold for $100.
Wow. So
the barrier to entry now is better than it ever was when I started.
Sure. What was I going to ask? Steve, you have a question?
I never have a question.
You have questions.
You got a comment?
Yeah, a comment.
Anything I can actually say on the air, though? That's a question.
Why?
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, let's talk about the...
I was going to say, so you talked a little about what's coming up, but is there something fantastic coming up? You got... Not that you'll share secrets, I guess, but...
So are you talking what I was talking about with Hoftac, or what I was talking about with the
either
Hybrid? So we just launched the outside the waistband version of the Ultimate Hybrid, which was something that we wanted to do first, but we had to hold off. So the outside the waistband version has been really big for us, because
awesome.
A lot of people who are target market, which is new to concealed carry, new to gun carry, they're not comfortable with inside the waistband yet. So we can cover all of those same guns with an outside the waistband holster, which has been big for us. I think this year will be really big now that we can cover both
awesome.
Inside and outside, and we sell them as a combo kit. So
Nice.
for one price, you can cover inside and outside the waistband carry for almost 200 guns. So it's
freaking cool.
It's gonna be big there, and we're also coming out with a 1911 version this year, and a micro version. So we'll be able to do like the 938, the SIGs, the Glock 42, a lot of the really little Ruger pistols,
Smaller handguns.
Yeah.
a lot
Micro
of that
carries.
stuff, which we don't currently approve for the current model because
Sure.
it's just that's too big of a swing. So
Right.
So we got those hopefully coming out by the end of this year, and then with the manufacturing at Hoftac, I'm gonna start coming out with some leather goods. I'm working with a company called Just In Case Holsters, and he does a lot of leather work down in Arizona. We got some wallets coming out there. I worked on a comb a few years ago.
Okay.
Anybody that knows me knows that I have a pretty long beard.
It's epic. You can call it epic.
Yeah, so I get comments on that all the time, and I designed a like a EDC beard comb
Sure. That's
awesome.
3 or 4 years ago, and
Yeah.
I had posted pictures of it, and I got a lot of response, and we sold 50 of them that we made originally. And we're going to bring that back in titanium and stainless steel and do some cool stuff with
Put
that.
me down
Nice,
for one,
man.
please.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's actually where the leather products came from. I was looking for a sleeve to put the comb in because I wanted it to be like a high end like
Yeah,
EDC product.
Something you take care of. Yeah.
Yeah, and so because I work with millet knives all the time, so I'm around $1,000-$2,000 knives all the time, and I'm like, dude, how do you get people to buy that? And they're like, exclusivity and materials, and I'm like, dude, how can I do that with holsters?
Yeah.
Like, can I make titanium belt clips? And they're like, I don't know if you're gonna get away with that. So I kind of want to push into doing some EDC type products, some leather goods. We got a like belt, but really low quantity stuff, like stuff that we're only going to make like maybe a couple hundred of instead
Right.
of thousands at a time.
That's cool.
Yeah, makes it that much more special that
Yeah.
way. But no, I think the ultimate hybrid holster, that's a great idea. I mean, just, somebody who hasn't carried as long as Steve or Ricky hasn't been necessarily around guns as long as Steve or Ricky has. I think any way that you can make carry or any kind of shooting easier for entry-level folks, that much better. We've talked
and
about
less
that.
intimidating. Like,
Exactly.
You go to the holster shelf and there's, like you're saying, 8,000 SKUs on the wall, and I don't know which one. If it's a new shooter, they're gonna be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's a lot of salespeople that don't even know how to sell what's out there too.
Well, holsters are one of those things that's so personal. You know what I mean? Somebody will swear by
It's
Blade
like a
Tech.
pair of shoes, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it fits somebody. We're all built differently. You know what I mean? So what's going to fit me isn't going to fit Steve all that well necessarily, or maybe not all that comfortable.
Yeah, and that's what we find. So, salesman education, I mean, for any holster company is big, because if they don't know what your product, if they don't know what your product is, they can't sell it. No one can sell your product as good as you can because no one knows it as well as you do. So you have to be able to educate them,
Right.
which is a huge process. And that's something that we're in the process of doing now, is going around and educating stores on why our product is a good fit.
Well, it's an investment to your company.
Exactly. And so I got off track for a second. I forgot where I was
cool.
going with that. But what I did originally was me and my business partner wanted to create something that was in competition with what was already on the market, but reached out to new gun owners. So he's an instructor. He does concealed carry classes for Cabela's, and he has his own training company. And so he does primarily handgun and concealed carry classes. And tons of people are doing concealed carry classes. Tons of people are taking concealed carry classes. And
Yeah.
I now know from working with him, he has a class every single weekend, and there's 20 to 30 people in the class, and he tells me all the time, people show up without holsters. They show up with holsters that they don't know if they're
Yeah,
going
we
to
see
work.
that all the time here
And
too.
so
Yikes.
universal holsters always have had a bad reputation for not fitting well and being junk.
Right.
And there's a couple companies that you can walk into any major retailer and you'll see those three names on the shelf.
It's a gun bucket. That's all it is.
And nobody will have anything good to say about it.
Right.
So my thought was, well, we already make a quality product at Hoftac that we've built a brand around and built a following with. How come I can't do that with and be in competition with these lower end companies? So we make everything in the US. Our backers are made in Seattle. I have a sewing company that makes the laminate. I have them make them for us, and then we bring them in because we're not seamstresses. I don't know how to sew. I don't know how to laminate fabrics together. So they're the experts on it. So I have them do it. So those come in done. We produce the shells in-house, and then we assemble them in-house and ship them off to the stores or to the people who are buying them. But the key is we're getting instructors to recommend our products. So we have a program where if you're a firearms instructor, you can get an industry price from us, and we'll send you a couple of each product. So if someone shows up at your class and they don't have a holster, or they have one that just won't hold the gun properly, you can loan them out, and then you can either sell them or you can get a discount to have them come to our website and buy them. And that's actually been our biggest promotion, is getting instructors on our side. True. Even guys that are like, universal holsters suck. Like you said before, if it fits everything, it doesn't fit anything.
Yeah.
And that was our biggest concern, was like, how do we get over that? Well, the best way was we put it in the hands of people who were like full Kydex holster advocates and said, just try it. Like, just check it out. Let us know what we can change. And there was very few of them that were like, I won't recommend this. I don't know that I've had anybody say they wouldn't recommend it who actually used it.
Wow.
And so, like, my business partner, Terry, he takes holsters to the classes, and people show up. When you're an instructor, you don't know if a guy's going to show up with a Ruger, a Walther, a Smith & Wesson, a Glock. Like, we would love for guys to show up with Glock 19s. That's it. just show up with Glock 19s, because we have 30 holsters for you to try.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's not the way it works. When you're new to carrying a gun, or you have something happen and you're like, I think I need to be carrying a gun, you go to Cabela's, you buy a Sky pistol, you buy a Taurus Millennium, which are good guns, but they're on they buy them because they're on the cheaper end.
Right.
I mean, you got the $200 to $400 guns, and then you have a Glock 43, which is $500. And if you don't know anything about guns, you're going to sit there and you're going to go, well, I'll just take this one because
just take the $200 and $300 gun. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you've used it and you know you can depend on it. But they don't make holsters for a lot of those guns. So then
they don't, because there's not a lot of people buying them, and so they're gonna target their market.
Yeah.
And go for quantity.
Exactly. So people show up, they have a fabric holster that's inside the waistband, which as an instructor, I don't know you, but I prefer to take classes with outside the waistband holsters, because even though I'm drawing, I'll practice inside the waistband, but when I'm drawing repetitively and I'm around people who aren't proficient with their guns, I want to make sure that they're safe. And outside the waistband for me is always preferable.
Yep.
So if I can give you
have a tourniquet handy.
So if I can give you a holster that is going to have a good fit, it's going to have audible retention, and it's going to fit a vast majority of what people are bringing to your class, that's what we were going after.
Yeah, and I think you hit the market.
And I feel like we achieved that with what we did. I mean, we tested it with another company that we work with before we launched our company, and so far we have probably 10,000 holsters out there in the market.
Wow, that's impressive.
And so we know that the outside the waistband version, which we are only offering through Ultimate Hybrid, is going to do very well, because we've tested it through thousands of users, and we've had very little pushback.
Nice.
So
let's just talk about holsters in general a little bit.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, if you were talking to a new shooter or something like that, regardless of brand or anything like that, what, in your opinion, makes a good holster?
So when I'm talking to somebody who's asking me about a holster, the first thing I ask them is, how do you want to carry it? Well, obviously I'm going to ask what gun they're going to carry, so that I know if I can send them in the right direction. And throughout my career of making holsters, I've actually pissed off a few of my customers because I've sent them somewhere else.
Okay.
Because I won't make everything. If I know there's a company out there that will makes something already that I probably would take thousands of dollars to compete with, and I'm not in that market, I'll send you somewhere else. And sometimes that makes loyal customers mad because you won't make them what they want, but there's something better out there.
See, but on the flip side of that, I think it says that you're an honest person and you know what you can and can't do.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like. You stay within your wheel of competency, you're going to create a loyal following. And I've done that, so I'm not afraid to send. If I thought that Phobos could make a better nylon holster than I can, that's where I'm going to send you. If I feel like Blade Tech offers something that I can't, I'm going to say, look, I've used it, I've tested it, I think you should go there. But when I'm looking at a holster, say inside the waistband, Kydex, full Kydex holster, what I'm looking for, number one, is does it fit well? So when I put the gun in there, do I have that audible sound like I talked about before? Does it have any slop when it's in there? It should have a little bit. You don't want it to fit so tight that it doesn't move at all, because once you put it against your body and you tighten up your belt, no matter what holster it is, it's going to tighten up. For me, I like adjustable retention, and I like to offer adjustable retention to my customers. A lot of companies do fixed retention because they don't want you to mess with the retention on the gun. For me, I know that there's a lot of people out there when I was doing fixed retention that didn't like it, because you get somebody who has shoulder problems or is a little bit older or doesn't want to have to draw as hard. That I like to give them the option to have that. But that's a personal preference thing. It doesn't affect the quality of the holster. That's just an option.
Right.
For me, I like the holster to look good as well as function well. So if a holster doesn't at least meet my lowest quality standard, I won't recommend it to people. So if you look at something and it looks like a turd, it's probably going to fit like a turd.
Sure.
And that's just basic business. Like if it doesn't look like you put any effort into it, you probably didn't put any effort into it.
Yeah, fit and finish is important.
So
very important.
Fit and finish is what I look for. I look for a sweat guard on whichever side that you carry. So if you're right-handed, you want the sweat guard on the left side. I like it to go all the way up, or 3/4 of the way up the gun. I don't like it to cover the rear sight, because I like to be able to purchase my thumb over the back of the sweat guard, and if it protrudes over the slide, I can't. It interferes with my draw.
Sure.
So I like to ask people that. But like I said, the holsters that are, if it's in a store, it's probably pretty good. So you're going to want to test fit your gun in it. Most companies leave the packaging so you can open it and feel it and look at it, and that's what we do. So if you can get your hands on it and look at it, if you can't, if you're ordering online, what I tell people when they're looking at holsters, if it has shitty product photography, go to the next website.
Sure.
If it has a shitty description, go to the next website, because there's so many options out there. There's no reason that you should compromise. Right. If they don't take the time to make their website and their products look good, if you can't go into the store and look at it, then they need to take the time to have a good description and good pictures.
Well, they have to have a good online store.
Yeah. So if I'm buying online, that's what I'm looking for. And I'm looking for a company that takes pride in their website, because that means they take pride in their product.
Well, and a holster is something that theoretically you're using almost every single day, if not every single day, and you're wearing it, anywhere between 4 to 8 to 12 hours a day,
Well, think of it this way too. It's a part of life-saving equipment.
Exactly.
So if you're skimping on it, I mean, how much are you gonna? And it may sound kind of cliche, but it is a piece of life-saving equipment. For me, it's like buying a tourniquet. Sure, I can use a shoelace or a belt, or am I gonna go spend some money on a rats, which some people argue. I have a lot of different tourniquets, but a cat or a soft tee, I really like the soft tee, so I'm gonna spend a little bit more money on the soft tee tourniquet than I would something I found at a big box store.
Yeah.
I like to put it this way. If you walk into my shop and you ask me to make a holster for a custom Glock pistol that you've put $3,000 into, and you're going to complain about spending $75 on a holster for it, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Or if you spend $500 on a pistol, $50 for a quality holster is not that big of a deal. Because like you said, it's a piece of life-saving equipment. It's something that I can't use that $500 gun unless that holster functions correctly. If I draw my gun and the holster comes out with it, I can't shoot it.
Right.
So if I'm putting my life and my family's life and my friends who are around me's life at risk because I'm carrying a gun, and I had this conversation the other day with someone in the shop, and I said, we choose to carry a gun, but some people don't realize the responsibility that comes with that.
Absolutely.
100%.
When I walk out of the house when I put my gun on and walk out of the house, I'm not thinking someone's going to attack me. I'm putting a gun on and I'm walking out of the house in hopes that nothing happens. But if something around me does happen, if there's a shooting or whatever, I've taken on the responsibility to protect not only myself but others.
Right.
And I'm not going to like run into a situation, but if that situation presents itself, I've taken on that responsibility. So when I'm buying a holster, this is taking it to the extreme, but this is the way I'm a holster guy, so that's how I look at it.
Sure, you have to.
I've decided I'm going to buy a $500 Glock pistol. I'm going to buy a $75 holster, and I'm going to hope that I never use any of them outside of the range.
Right.
But if I do, I spent money and I spent time to make sure that those things are going to function the way they're supposed to. I know too many people that buy a gun, buy a holster, throw it in there, throw it on every day, and you say, "When's the last time you went shooting?" And I'm guilty of it sometimes too. I don't know. I haven't shot this gun.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're carrying a gun that you've never shot. Like, how do you know it's going to work? Like,
Yeah.
I know when I got my first Glock 42 and I put Hornady critical defense ammo in it, and I went to the range and it jammed 7 out of 10 shots.
Wow.
Surprise.
But you don't want to find that out in the wrong situation.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
if I would have just thrown the ammo in there, because that's what I carry in my Glock 19, and threw it in the holster and went out, and God forbid there was an active shooter situation, and I went to draw my gun and I pulled it out. Now I'm a target.
Yeah.
With a gun that jammed 7 out of 10 shots, which is 2 magazines.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's a big responsibility.
It is.
And knowing that your equipment is gonna work and that you as a person are prepared to deal with that are 2 big things. So training and equipment are important. Mm-hmm. And the most important equipment is the gun, the ammo, and the holster.
Yep.
There's nothing in concealed carry that's more important than the gun, the training, and the holster, in my opinion.
I mean, those are the 3 things
about
you
you,
need
Steve?
to conceal carry.
What do you think?
Well, I think education is your brain, your mind is the tool, or is
the weapon.
Is the weapon, I guess. I hate that term weapon, but you use the other tools to make that happen. And training, education, obviously, depends mightier than the sword. And the same goes to defense, right? And so you educate yourself, and then you equip yourself with the right tools. I carry a Hoffer holster. That's what I carry with me every day. That's what my Glock's in every day. So obviously I trust it. I've used it for a couple of years now, I think, and I like it.
Well, we've sold thousands over the years, so hopefully people trust it. Because I've never had anyone send one back because it didn't work.
That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
So,
but yeah, no, it's important, and like you said, it's a piece of equipment that you need to make sure works for you, and that you test out and work with, and you have to spend the money. Same thing with training, where somebody will buy a $5,000 gun or something like that, or $3,000 Glock, and then they won't go take a class.
Yeah. And it really is. I mean, I know we've kind of beaten a dead horse, but it is important to understand it and buy the correct holster, and have confidence in it.
I really believe, like, we designed the Ultimate Hybrid to be comfortable and functional. And that was for people who were worried about comfort, but I still wanted function. But if you're going to buy a specific gun holster, it's probably going to take you a couple of holsters to find one that fits, that works well for you.
Yeah.
Like all of us here know that we have 5 or 6 holsters for
Absolutely.
the same gun. And all of the customers that I've talked to are like, I really like your holster. It's more comfortable than this or that. And for me, I'm like, I don't understand why that is, but it's body type.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
If your body type doesn't allow for the specific shape of the way I cut my holster, it might not be comfortable.
Well, not only that, the progression. I started at 6 o'clock when I started carrying in the beginning, and it just kind of worked its way around. Now, the official endorsed way is appendix.
Yeah, the official way of carrying for the Range-Minded podcast is appendix carry. So, yeah, it depends on your style of carry and your body shape and everything. And some people do have the body shape to conceal carry appendix, and some people don't. And same thing with strong side or behind the hip or whatever. So.
I get
and
people
apparel
all the
changes.
time. I carry appendix, and I get customers all the time. We're doing a lot of gun shows right now just to get exposure and stuff.
Sure.
We're traveling around the country doing gun shows and talking to guys like, well, you're a skinny guy. You can carry appendix. And I'm like, you're right, I can. And it's the best way because when I carried behind the hip, my gun was always sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
People walking through Costco staring at me. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and the bad guy can take it out of your
I
back
got a
pocket
gun,
for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I carry appendix because I feel more guarded and I have the body shape to do it. And it's the most comfortable. Like I'm sitting here, I'm carrying a gun. I've carried so much I don't even know that I'm wearing it.
Yeah, you don't even notice it.
And
Yeah.
I was just telling him, like, look, if you got a belly that goes over the gun, that's secondary retention.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about the 300th parallel here, where people have, because Steve and I aren't the smallest
You're
folks
a lot smaller
in the
than
world.
me, man.
Not by much. I don't know, but I'm not the skinniest person in the world and all that. And so, but you learn how to work with it. And yeah, appendix, I think it's just better.
You just have to find what works for you.
Yeah.
You do.
There's no, I mean, I make two very different types of holster with two different company names attached to them because they're so different. Mm-hmm. I will not say that either of those products will work well for everyone.
Right.
Like there is a specific holster for everyone. I just know that the ones that we make with both companies fit a very large range of people. Mm-hmm. And I challenge anyone to test out multiple holsters before they even buy one.
Yeah.
If the store will let you test them. If you can afford to buy a few and try them out, do it, because that's the only way you're going to find what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we'll close on that. I think that's some great advice. But Nick from Hoftac Industries and from Ultimate Hybrid Holster, thank you so much for spending some time with us, educating us on holsters. I know a lot more now than when we started, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Thanks for taking time to come hang out.
And we'll post this all on the Range Minded Facebook page and connect with Nick. If you want to connect with Nick Hoffer, let us know. Send us an email, podcast@iishooting.com. We'll link to his websites and stuff on the Range Minded Facebook page and on our website, iishooting.com. And
don't forget to check Nick out on his Instagram. And
check out Hoftac Industries on Instagram. I've actually followed you for like 2 years. So, because I didn't realize when I moved to Idaho how many awesome, industries there were here, firearm companies in the industry here in the Treasure Valley. And you popped up and there you were. So
we have a lot of them here. I think last time I counted, there was like 25 like legitimate firearms companies within 25 miles.
Yep. Yeah. So check out hoftac.com, HOFTAC.com, and ultimatehybridtech.com. We'll link to all that.
Perfect.
Nick, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's great being on. It's good to talk with you guys.
Yeah, and thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Range Minded. Find us online at Range Minded Podcast on Facebook, or send us an email at podcast@iishooting.com. We're always happy to get feedback, episode suggestions, whatever you want to send us, really. And be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and pretty much wherever else you get your podcasts from. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.